up here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
It looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to yet another round here with Velocity Racing League in the 2023 Cup Series, and we are here today at North Wilkesboro for the North Wilkesboro 200, and my name is Mason Heimbaugh, joined alongside me, Gareth McAllister, up here in the booth with Team Goon Squad bringing you the action here today, 1080p, 60 frames a second, and as we see qualifying go underway here, drivers starting to put down their best lap times that they can here. Tony Hillbrands, among others, going to be the first ones to put down a time here. Corcel and Colby, as well as Howie Briss, going to be the first drivers to put down official times here with an 18.40. Howie Briss takes the pole, and Tony Hillbrands coming in with just a hundredth of a second just behind. Oh, actually, now as Aaron Smith makes his way out onto track here as well. Gareth, it is already getting spicy here in qualifying. Even though it is lone car qualifying, we're starting to see some fairly quick times out of these drivers here. Oh, sideways
absolutely.
Here for the 70 driver.
So immediately get cut off. No, but it's been I think we've got an interesting one to look forward to, Mason. It's going to be good. It's gonna be great to see. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. As per usual, we love to see all of you. And, you know, Mason, we were talking about this just before the broadcast actually started up here in the booth, but we were saying, you know, this track, it's such a historic raceway. North Wilkesboro was probably one of the first tracks built after the end of the Second World War, as it started being built towards the end of 1945. Opened in 1947, so it took a little bit of time to open, but we were also discussing that they're actually reviving it. It's been like wasted away, I think about 3 different times throughout the years since its opening, but it keeps on popping up, and it's nice to see. We were talking about the short track game starting to come back into NASCAR's premier division in the top series in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's not just NASCAR that's starting to see these older tracks, these historic tracks, start to be more and more of a regular venue for a lot of different series. I mean, you have the NASCAR Welland Series, you have different sportsman divisions that will race there oftentimes. There's just a lot of different, I would say, amateur to semi-pro and so on and so forth, that drivers that you normally don't hear about who end up going into the professional world of NASCAR. Granted, it's not always, but that's where a lot of these drivers start. That's where a lot of the great names that you hear, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, so on and so forth. I mean, all of these great historic drivers, they all started on these short tracks, and this is how they got their name. This is where legends are truly born, and North Wilkesboro. It is great to see one of these tracks being preserved and being brought back to a racing standard, a racing condition. And it's the same with a lot of other tracks around the world. I'm actually blanking on the most recent one. I think it's Rockingham I have to actually look this up here real quick, but I believe Rockingham is being renovated, if I'm not mistaken. So it is being repaved. The last update was in December 13th, if I'm not mistaken. And it was repaved. But yeah, Gareth, it's just great to see a lot of short tracks, a lot of different tracks around the United States and frankly around the world, just being brought back to life, being risen out of the grave and seeing them finally raced on again. So here in the virtual world, we've luckily been able to do that for quite some time now, but we get to celebrate that a little bit early here for the eventual return of the once great North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Yeah, it's just fantastic to see. I love the way that you know, I'm really excited to you know, some people don't know this, but Australia actually had their own NASCAR series for a good bit of about 12 years, and towards the late 90s or mid 90s and early 2000s, and it was pretty popular when it started, and unfortunately went down in the hole as time went on. But there's a track called the Thunderdome, which I actually went and visited not too long ago, a couple months ago, and it's actually like, it's a weird sort of oval, but it's really nice. And I believe they ran the track the opposite direction because it's Australia, so why not? And yeah, but they still brought out a whole bunch of big name drivers and all the rest of it, so it was pretty cool to see that track. And unfortunately it's in a state of decay, but I'm hoping iRacing goes there and fixes that one up, as well as a lot of other ones around the world which they can really save.
Absolutely. And as we have our field getting gridded up and ready, let's run through our field here, as we've only got a few drivers here today, or a smaller field than what we are used to. So up in the front row is Aaron Smith and Howie Briss, Tony Hillbrands and Jaden Hopp. In the second row, Sean Williams and Scott Shire. In our third row, with Patrick Colby and Nicholas Corsell in our fourth row. Michael Keithley and Logan Jones in the fifth row. James Coulibaly and Matthew Fitz taking up the sixth row. Just a little bit further on down here, Benjamin Lacey and James Miller in the seventh row, with Michael Ashmore and Howie Dtre taking up the eighth row here. And folks, I do apologize for the kind of lack of cameras here today at North Wilkesboro. Not exactly as many spots as we would like to have for cameras here today, but we're going to make do with what we have today. So hopefully it is good enough for everyone at home, but I know that myself and Gareth were talking a little bit about it before the broadcast, and not exactly quite what we desire as far as, well, broadcasting cameras are concerned, but they will do. We'll make them work, and hopefully everyone at home enjoys the 200 laps that we will see here today at North Wilkesboro Speedway. And also want to give a quick shout out and quick thank you to all of our viewers tuning in here today. Don Hillbrands, Lisa, James Coulibaly. James, you should be driving, not listening to the broadcast there at the same time there, buddy. Only kidding.
He can listen. He can listen, but he shouldn't be messaging. No texting and driving, kids. Stay safe.
Absolutely. The lights are out on our pace truck here today as we work our way in through 3 and 4. The pace truck will make that dive down into pit road. And excuse me as I say 3 and 4, that was 1 and 2. Heading down the back straightaway as we speak. Now into turns 3 and 4. We await for the green flag to drop here for the first time here today at North Wilkesboro. For the first time for these drivers, and away the pace truck down into pit road it goes, and away we go for the first time. And let's see what Aaron Smith has got in store for these drivers. Tony Hillbrands also looking to get a piece of the action as we work our way through 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway. Howie Briss, a very, very good launch out into turns 3 and 4, and really picking up the pace here as now they exit turn 4 and back into turn 1 here. Aaron Smith down on the inside.
Yeah, I was really excited to see. That was a great move from Howie Briss to get that basically spot ahead of Aaron Smith, and that's really going to help him. He's going to be very happy to see that. We can look back at Scott Shire as well as Patrick Colby and Michael Keithley going side by side, as Colby has a little bit of a slip And I'm not going to mention his sponsor once again because I'll end up rolling on the floor laughing like I did last time. But he's got Koulibaly on his outside now as they go side by side. Koulibaly's going to leave that, or he's going to try something on the high side here. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to be enough to get past Colby here. It looks like the inside is the way to go, and he goes around. And Koulibaly's going to be the first. Nice access road stop, as it looks like he's going to be the first to go around. And the 98 involved, that's Michael Ashmore. Not sure, I believe that was probably reactionary to what happened to Koulibaly just ahead.
Let's take a look at the Goon Squad instant replay here as Ashmore finds himself in his own little bit of a predicament here. We're going to rewind things here just a smidgen. Let's see exactly how this unfolded. We have James Koulibaly getting... Did he hit the wall there? No, he didn't. He spun out all on his lonesome.
Yeah, the car just got loose out of turn number 2, and just round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows, unless you hit a wall.
So similar incidents for both Koulibaly as well as Ashmore. And we've got a few different drivers all coming down into pit road here. Aaron Smith, Corcel, D-Tray, Ashmore, all down in pit road as the yellow flag is flying here for the first time at North Wilkesboro on lap 6 here of 200. So a little bit of early incidents here, but nothing caused by drivers beating and banging with doors or anything of that nature. It's just simply the track surface here is very slick, very tricky, and also rather flat. Not a whole lot of banking that we have to work with on this racetrack specifically, and these cars tend to prefer to have that bit of banking to work with, and really that's why this track is considered to be more of a driver's track. So it's going to be tough for some drivers tonight to potentially have that long run pace to maintain that throughout the 200 laps that we have here today, and we might get a good chance to see just who might those drivers be. Early on, starting to look like we've got some drivers that may struggle a little bit here, but I mean, Gareth, it's still too early to call it, I think, or make any sort of determinations of that nature. So it's still early, and drivers are still kind of getting themselves into the mix of things. And I think there was actually a couple drivers that kind of got in through tech here at the last minute and onto track right as they were gridding up here today.
Oh yeah, there's some very late entries in there in the field, but you know, this car has so much power, and there's, as you said, there's only 14 degrees of banking, so it's not a lot of help in the corners. We go back to green. Howie Briss and Tony Hilbrands are going to start things up from the front. And it looks like Hilbrands gets a nice jump right behind Briss. Going to want to tuck into that bottom line, but Jaden Hop is right there. And Hop's going to stick the nose in, and Tony comes down and they touch. Tony gets a little bit loose from that contact. Amazing the fact that he didn't hit the outside wall. And he's going to continue ahead into the second position.
Tony Hilbrands, a great reaction there from the 92 driver, able to recover from that bit of contact there that he had with Jaden Hop, as we're riding on board now with the number 81 driver here for just a second, getting a little bit of a onboard look here with what it's like for a lap here at North Wilkesboro, and you can see already that it is just non-stop action here on this short track, and that's exactly what we like here up here in the booth, and I'm sure for you folks at home is just this close battles, door-to-door action. That's really what gets the blood pumping for us watching the races. But for the drivers, it is just non-stop action every single lap all the way until the end. For Benjamin Lacey, little bit too much out of turn 2 as he makes it into the grass here on the infield, just on the back straightaway, and no caution is going to fly here for the number 7 driver as he safely makes his way back out onto the track here as the field starts to make their way back on to the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's really lucky that a caution didn't fly there, and the number 7 didn't cause an extra yellow or anything coming out as there's another car. That's Koulibaly once again having issues spinning around and giving the pace truck a nice little look there. Maybe looking at the the back end of that one. But anyway, as he spins himself back around and gets back down to it. But yeah, a lot of drivers seeming to struggle here, and I'm not surprised with just how much power this Gen 4 Cup car has, and it can spin you around very easy, especially if you get very high on the RPMs. You've really got to watch that throttle and just be quite gentle with it.
So here's the replay of James Coulibaly, and yeah, he just
looked like he revved it a bit too hard there out of the corner, a bit too quickly, and the power was too much for the car. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, and that's one thing, you know, Gareth, and I think what might be the issue here for some drivers can be the setup itself. This, remember, folks, for those of you tuning in now who may have not seen a broadcast here with the Velocity Racing League, but this is a fixed setup league. So if you don't know what that means, all the drivers are essentially driving the same car. No one is allowed to make any major changes to the car. Pretty much the only thing that you can change is your brake bias, your steering ratio, or steering angle, actually. And I think there's one other thing, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, Gareth. You might have to fill me in on that one. But either way, either how, I think, Gareth, I mean, there might be some drivers that are fighting I don't know, it seems to be a little bit of a looser car than what some drivers might prefer here.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think there is anything else. I think you might have actually hit the nail on the head there. I think there's only really, you can move the brake bias forward or back, which in these cars you probably want to move it forward. And the other thing that you said, which has gone blank from my mind at the moment, of course. But yeah, the steering ratio you can do, or steering angle, like you said, is the only other one I believe that you can really change on these cars. I don't think there's much else. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of loose drivers out there, and you know, a lot of drivers like a loose race car because it gives more of a feel to it than just absolutely plowing tight in the corners. But yeah, it's definitely more of a handful, and that's why, like you said earlier, it's a driver's track.
Exactly, and that is exactly what we are seeing here today. Who are the top drivers here in the VRL series on the short tracks? And right now, Howie Briss and Tony Hillbrands are going to have a bit of a bout here for first place. As we go back to green flag racing here through 3 and 4, Hillbrands down on the bottom of the 97 machine as we exit turn 4 across the checkered line. Hillbrands going to stay on the inside as they beat doors in through 1 and 2 as they exit 2 onto the back straightaway. Hillbrands going to have a bit of a gap here as the yellow flag flies, but I'm not sure exactly what for. James Miller, the 09 Tim Hortons machine, having a little bit of a moment here out of turn 2. Let's take a look at a replay here and see just exactly what happened here.
Oh, that was a mess. Did they attempt 3 wide? I think he did.
They definitely did. They definitely tried that.
Oh man, I know it's Tim Hortons, but all I can think of is Horton hears a who and Horton hears a 3 wide. That's what Horton hears. So,
well,
yeah.
We've got a couple questions here in chat. We've got Colin Fogarty asking, fuel is something that you can change, but that's generally something that is done in during your pit stop. So that's not exactly something that is restricted. It can be restricted for your starting amount of fuel for a race. Usually, some leagues will set it to 60%, 50%, whatever the case might be for that particular race or whatever they're trying to accomplish for that series. Don Hillbrand's asking how many tires and what is the fuel range, and that is a good question, Don. Let me answer that.
I should have answered that earlier because I've got the information right in front of my face. I just
you know what, Gareth?
I just didn't even look at it.
I won't take it away from you, Gareth. How about you fill in our lovely viewers?
All right, so we got a fuel window of around about 110 to 120 laps. We have seen some drivers in the past completely disregard that though and go for another 10 laps, so who knows at this point. And we've also got 5 sets of tires behind a pit wall. I don't think they'll need them all that much. A lot of those tires they'll probably only have to change maybe once or twice, but fuel window wise they'll only have to stop once if no cautions were to come out. Obviously we've had some cautions at this point, so I don't think you will have anyone make it all the way to the end though, unless we have caution after caution after caution. So yeah, they'll definitely have to pit once for fuel, and tires they may have to stop an extra time. We'll have to see how that one unfolds.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive some of these drivers are going to be on these tires. I mean, obviously we're seeing guys get loose and really just trying to keep these cars tame, but that's not going to be the only contributing factor to their tire wear here today, as the green flag drops here once again in a huge jump here from the 92 driver of Tony Hillbrand's. A very, very good start here for Tony, about a half a second gap from himself in second place now, as Jaden Hopp and Sean Williams are going to have a little bit of a bout here for third place. And drivers also going to be too wide and a little bit deep here in the midfield, as Aaron Smith trying to squeeze himself in between James Miller, as well as I believe that is
It's
Matthew Fitz. Okay, I was very confused there. That paint scheme was definitely throwing me off.
Oh yeah, these drivers I've seen a few different paint schemes this season to what I'm used to. It throws me off as well, Mason. You're not the only one. As Aaron gets into the back of Miller and sends him spinning around. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what I just saw there, and that was Miller. It looked like got a little bit loose, had to let off the throttle to keep the car pointed in the right direction. Aaron Smith was like an arrow straight and just thought there was more gap than there was. I believe that Aaron, there's no malicious contact in there at all. It just looked like there was a little bit of looseness on Miller's part, and Aaron didn't have any room to try and check up and avoid. So yeah, just unfortunate there, and we keep on keeping on.
An unfortunate racing incident, but yeah, you know, these things happen, especially on short tracks. Drivers are all pushing to their limits, and sometimes those limits can be pushed a little bit too aggressively, as I'm surprised to actually see there was not a caution that came out from that here, Gareth. We're staying green, and Tony Hillbrand's continues with his lead as we enter lap 31 of 200 here for the North Wilkesboro 200 for the Velocity Racing League 2023 Cup Series. Great racing so far here today, even despite the slightly smaller field than what we're used to. And I mean, Gareth, I think maybe there might have been some drivers that saw this track on the schedule and just said, I don't know if pain is what I want to deal with today.
Well, I mean, you know, some of these drivers are absolutely insane, and I think you might be right. You know, some of the drivers deciding that North Wilkesboro, not exactly confident in it, maybe spun a lot during practice and decided it was probably a better decision not to be a potential nuisance out on track. So deciding against it, maybe that was a smart move. Bit sad not to see as many as we are used to, but hey, that it is that way for the moment. But you know, Dawn Hillbrand's coming in and also reminding us again, once here in the booth, she's doing my job for me at this point. Tony Hillbrand's won last year's race here, so I wonder if we'll see a repeat. It could be interesting.
Yeah, you know, and Dawn actually stole it from me before I could even mention it, but that is correct. Tony Hillbrand's was last year's winner here at North Wilkesboro, and that might be a potential possibility here for the 92 driver to come away with another win here in 2023, as currently leading the race at the moment, but still a long ways to go before we are anywhere near that checkered flag, and still a long ways to go before we see drivers start to make their way down into pit road. So long run speeds are going to be crucial here, and right now it looks like the top three of Hillbrand's, Briss, and Hopp have very good short run speed, but I'm curious to see, Gareth, how they're going to work themselves out once we get closer to that lap 80, lap 90, lap 100 mark, when those tires are real worn out and they're fighting these cars a lot more than they already are.
Yeah, it should be real interesting because, as we know, Tony Hilbrand's has always been a very short run sort of a car. Howie Briss is more of a mid-run sort of a guy, and Jaden Hopp has always had speed on the long run. So it should be interesting how this one kind of fans out, as it looks like there was a little bit of bobble there from Matthew Fitz. So Lacey's going to take that spot away. Fitz still struggling with the rear end of that car as they battle it out for the 9th position. Lacey still on the inside. You know what's going to be really interesting, Mason, I was just thinking, is going to be when they come down pit road, if they do have green flag stops, because they are right on the inside, you can see there. And right there, you could see it just as Aaron Smith was going past. That was such a close pit entry. And if you don't communicate with other drivers around you, that is going to be a very chaotic time. That is for sure.
Yeah, you know, and that's kind of the really a key part of this, well, of these leagues and of this service, is that drivers are able to communicate with one another, and you can kind of use the service, well, the what's the word I'm looking for here, the voice chat in game or in service, to be able to talk to one another and be able to say, hey, you know, I'm coming on your inside, or at least try and be a little sportsman. Like, some drivers don't utilize these things. Other drivers are all about it and almost think it's required in a lot of cases, which I understand in a lot of sense. But Gareth, I mean, sorry if I'm off on a little bit of a tangent here, but yeah, I think it's great that drivers here are able to communicate with one another, and no one is really, I guess, up in arms over situations like that where, you know, a driver is clearly faster than them and they, you know, have an issue with letting them by. Usually, most cases that we see here, drivers are very, very respectful of one another, and they know who the guys are up front, and they know when to get out of their way and let them have their race.
Oh yeah, the team, the fact that you can talk to all the other teams while you're driving is a huge factor in, you know, communication is so underrated as a way of communicating just in general, really all over the world when you think about it. But yeah, it's huge on the iRacing service because you don't have the usual things that they have in the real world, you know, spotters and crew chiefs and all the rest of it. So it's nice to be able to communicate your thoughts and what you want to do, and just tell the other drivers what's going on, really, other than anything else. You know, you can call out an incident and thankfully, you know, let the other drivers know that a caution should come out or that there is an incident ahead, something to watch out for, and all the rest of it. So I'm very, very glad that they have that in there. It'd be treacherous almost without it, but you can see we continue to follow along this battle with Lacey and Michael Keithley. Lacey's been making their way up quite a few spots since their little spin earlier on, so may have found out something that works really well for them, as Aaron Smith is just really following along in that lean, mean yellow banana.
You know, and that's the contact here from Aaron Smith. He gets spun around as they just enter turn 3. Aaron Smith, the lean, mean yellow banana, not having quite a good day here at North Wilkesboro, as we continue to stay green flag here and starting to catch back up to the rest of the pack here. But I mean, luckily for Aaron, a relatively clean spin here for the number 70 machine, and it looks like actually James Koulibaly, I'm not sure if that was just him letting lap traffic on by here or what that was. I'm not even sure who Aaron made contact with here. Let's actually take a quick look at the instant replay just to see who he made contact. Keithley.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of an iffy one. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm to blame for that one because commentators cursed like right as I said his name, of course. So once again, doing our job up here in the booth and making people spin out. So yeah, you know. Feeling good, doing good, and yeah, hopefully Aaron Smith can catch back up to the field. But yeah, Koulibaly I think was just entering back onto the track, coming out of pit road, I believe. Koulibaly had some issues there, so he's come back out. But Benjamin Lacey now working on Colby. for the 6th place spot. So once again, that number 7 machine really has found some pace where a lot of cars are starting to fall off a little bit. So I wonder, Lacey seeming to have a very long run setup car.
Yeah, Lacey is looking quite comfortable here, about halfway into our first stint here of the race, or first and probably only stint of the race here. So yeah, Lacey is looking rather comfortable and rather fast at the moment, currently outpacing the field. If timing and scoring is anything to go by, he is currently outpacing even our leader, Tony Hilbrands, and Howie Briss here in the number 7 machine, currently up 7 spots here as well in 6th place, as he works his way around Sean Williams, the number 89 machine, up into 5th. So I don't know, Gareth. I don't know if Benjamin, reached underneath the seat. You know the old saying here. I love to say it. Reached under the seat, turned the old NOS valve on, and let her eat. But hey, you know what? Sometimes that's racing here. I'm only kidding. But Benjamin is doing a fantastic job managing tires, managing fuel, and just overall staying extremely quick here. And I really got to wonder just how much he's eating away at those tires, or if he's even eating at them at all. Really curious to see what that tire wear is looking like for the number 7 driver. Obviously, we can't look at it too deeply here on the service, but we can kind of get an idea of what it's like through his pace, and what it's going to look like here going forward in the next few laps.
I think we need that on a highlight reel. I just want to go back to that, Mason. Reach under the seat and let her eat. That's something I've never heard before. That's a very interesting one. I know there's a spin the bottle on the nitrous there in the middle, but I couldn't help it. I had to draw my attention and everyone watching at home their attention back to that one, because I feel like it's a very interesting call, Mason. But we'll make fun of you a little bit for that one, because you make fun of me before, so that's fine. But yeah, as it looks like we've got a big battle going on here with 5 cars. That's Aaron Smith just in front of this battle with Michael Keithley, Logan Jones, Matthew Fitz, and Nicholas Corsell in the Sour Patch machine. Now, interestingly enough, I was also talking to you earlier before the race got underway that Nicholas Corsell running the Sour Patch machine, I believe I have gotten Tony Hilbrands to send me some Sour Patch. So hopefully it has not come through within the week, but hopefully next week or the week after, when it does finally fly in all the way from the States, I can get some Sour Patch on the stream for you and have a nice old time, probably screwing my face into several different ways with how sour I have heard they supposedly are.
I'm actually very curious to see what your interpretation of them are once you do try them, because it's America, from what I understand, and I have not had the opportunity to travel out of the country yet. I would love to at some point. Action up ahead though. Jaden Hopp, Tony Hilbrands, more on that later, as Jaden Hopp works his way up into the lead here through turns 3 and 4. Tony Hilbrands going to fall back into 2nd place. It is still a long race left to go here, though, and we're starting to see how, again, long-run speeds are going to affect these drivers here, and Tony Hilbrands starting to see a little bit of those effects start to come into play here. And we all know that Jaden is a very, very good long-run driver. That 81 machine is very experienced and can keep himself out here for quite a long time. So I don't know if anyone's going to have any sort of response here for Jaden, or if we're going to see someone, like Aaron Smith, Howie Briss, any of these drivers that may start to challenge that number 81 in a long run pace here. Tony Hilbrands obviously can do it, but will he be able to track down Jaden Hopp here once things start to settle back down here after our first pit stop, which we're still quite a bit of ways away here before that starts to happen, Gareth? So I mean, I don't know. What do you think is going to be the move here for, if you were Tony Hilbrands right now and you're trying to secure that win? What's your strategy to get that W?
I mean, it's an interesting one because, I mean, you know, I'd like to have a straight answer for you and just say pit now or don't pit. But the problem that Tony Hilbrands has really is that he's a very fast-paced short-run car. We know this. We've seen this multiple races, which is great for us if a caution comes out. This has been a caution-heavy track for the first 20-30 laps, but now we're in a long green flag run and you're seeing just the pace difference with the long run speed versus the short run speed of a car and a driver. And the thing with Tony is that if you pit here under green, you've lost 2 laps for sure before you come out of pit road. So it's going to be a real interesting gamble if he does decide to pit under green, and then especially if we get a caution, and then the race could be ruined. So you'd almost have to say that he has to stay out and just hope for a caution at some point. At this point, and I mean, what are the odds? What am I doing to this league, honestly?
Oh, poor Garrett getting caught out in the commentator's curse here again, with Matthew Fitz finding himself in a bit of trouble. Let's take a look and see what happened here. Oh boy. Side by side here with Keithley and whoa. What happened here with Keithley? I don't know if he made contact with the wall there or what the case was, but Keithley. So we're going to take a look in slow motion here. I just want to see. Oh, man. It looked like maybe he was trying to go down to the bottom line. He was trying to make his entry into one, and that caused a collision between himself and Matthew Fitz. That is, Gareth, I mean, what's your interpretation of that?
Look, I think Keithley just got a little bit too high on the rev limiter, and the car shot to the left just a bit there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one to call. That's probably my interpretation of it, though. I would say it's a bit hard to really have a look at it proper, but I would like to see the RPM gauge, because that would show. See, there you go. So, yep, too high on the RPMs. That's the biggest thing with these Gen 4 cars. You know, these drivers will have to work that out, and I'm sure they will. You know, with a few different races here as we continue with the season, but you know, the RPMs are such a huge factor, and if you push these engines slightly too far, they get so, the rear end just gets so loose, and it just wants to slap you this way and that. So yeah, I believe that just a little bit too happy with the throttle, and with a car right next to him, chaos ensued.
Yeah, and these cars are also the Gen 4 models that iRacing just recently introduced into the service to replace the original ARCA that we had here on the iRacing service. So while these are theoretically the same car, they do have quite a bit more power added into them here as well. So drivers are still kind of finding themselves learning the ins and outs of this car and trying to figure out a balance here for all of the power that they have underneath their right foot here today. So Gareth, I mean, I can't really speak for yourself, but I know that whenever I'm switching between different cars, it's especially the faster the car, let's actually go back to green here as the green flag drops here once again. Jaden Hopp taking a rather impressive jump here, but Hilbrand's responding very well here on the exit of turn 2, staying within a half a second here of the leader at the moment, and the rest of the field behind them. 3 wide through 3 and 4. Williams all the way down on the bottom with Colby in the middle. And it looks to be Logan Jones, having been stuck all the way on the outside, drops back just a little bit here. Garrett, the action is unfolding here already. Sean Williams a little loose here.
Yeah, Sean Williams with a bit of a struggle there, as the number 3, Logan Jones, is really trying to work that high side, working it pretty well, I'd say, at this point. I could not believe that they were going 3 wide. I know you couldn't see my face, and no one can at the moment, but my eyebrows definitely shot up to where my hair is, I tell you. But yeah, it looks like Williams is struggling a little bit with the car at the moment. Keithley is doing a great job underneath, and there's a little bit more of a bobble from Sean as the commentator's curse once again comes through, and I don't even know if I should continue talking at this point, Mason. There's so much going on, and it seems like every time I bring something up, something bad happens. But I'm going to continue for the moment.
Hilbrand's in trouble.
As Hilbrand's, like you said, sorry I interrupted you. You should just take over this one, Mason.
Tony Hilbrand's going to be in trouble, bringing out the 5th caution of the race here today. Let's take a look and see what happened here for the 92 driver, and let's see just how bad it's going to be here for Tony to recover from this one. Let's into 3 and 4 and just get sideways. A bit of contact to the concrete wall on just quite literally right between 3 and 4 there, but luckily to the rear end of that 92 machine, so hopefully no major components damaged to that race car. I'm pretty sure the fuel cell is back there and a few other things, but overall I think Tony is going to be okay after that one. Probably just a little bit of a fender bender, if anything, as far as race cars are concerned.
Yeah, and thankfully aero is not a, aerodynamics as the car goes through, pushes through the air and goes around traffic, is not a huge factor on these short ovals here, as this one, being itself is only 0.62 miles. So it's not going to play a huge factor into the way that car performs. But yeah, that's a big disappointment for Tony Hilbrand. As you can see, he just got very, very loose on entry into the actual corner itself. So just something that he was struggling to keep underneath. But as we're close to halfway, I will take this opportunity once again to thank all of our people watching at home on YouTube. Coming in the comment section, we've got Marcus Regal, we've got Dawn Hilbrands, we've got Lisa MW, we got Dylan Sprock, Colin Fogarty, and James Coolabully himself, even though he's meant to be in the car driving. So yes, we have had quite a few people tuning in, saying something in chat, and we thank you very much, keeping it entertaining, and thanks for tuning in to watch these drivers go around and hopefully listen to Mason and I just talk about some random banter.
Absolutely, and I want to also touch on, add a little extra to that as well. For those of you watching, those of you who are regular viewers, anyone who is watching this and wants to kind of help us out a little bit more, wants to be able to support ourselves up here in the booth, Team Goon Squad as a whole, as well as the rest of our broadcast team and leagues. You can also support us on Patreon. You can head over to our website, teamgoonsquad.com, and every little dollar helps us do broadcasting in-house for our in-house series, such as the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. It allows us to have broadcasted races, race control, live race control, a lot of other things that overall make Team Goon Squad what it is and allow us to keep improving what we do and allow us to hopefully keep improving what we do up here in the booth and outside of the booth here as well. But back to green flag racing here as Jaden Hobb still hanging on in the lead here, and Tony Hilbrand's trying to work his way back up to the front of the pack here. And we've got some side-by-side action here between Michael Keithley and Aaron Smith as we go through 3 and 4 here. Single file up ahead though, and so far it seems like everyone's taking this a little bit more cautiously than what we saw last time around, Gareth.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way, as I think people are probably getting sick and tired of all the cautions coming out. So trying to be a little bit more clean with it, but Tony Hilbrand is probably not thinking that at the moment. He's thinking he has to make up as many positions as possible. But Lacey, one of those drivers that we've talked about, has made their way through the pack very quickly. One driver we haven't talked about, Scott Shire, up in the 3rd spot at the moment. He seems to have a very nice long run car, similar sort of speeds to Jaden Hopp towards the end of that long green flag run. So he is one to watch as well as he keeps making his way up through the field. Up 9 spots at the moment is Benjamin Lacey, and Scott Shire up 3 themselves. So both those drivers in the number 4 and the number 7 currently sitting 3rd and 4th, doing a great job, as Sean Williams once again, you can see the back end just getting a little bit chaotic on the 89 machine, but able to do a good job so far at the moment of keeping the car underneath him and really keeping it dialed in, as it looks like Aaron Smith is making a pass on Michael Keithley there for the 7th place spot.
Yeah, it looks to be some great action beginning to develop here in what is now going to be roughly the halfway mark in today's race here at North Wilkesboro. And I gotta say, I was not expecting to see the amount of action that we've seen already from this field. I mean, North Wilkesboro can sometimes be, I want to say, hit or miss when it comes to kind of side-by-side racing, drivers getting door-to-door with one another. Sometimes you get action that's just very single file pretty much the whole race, but these drivers here with VRL kind of have a mixture of it. They know when it's time to turn up the dial a little bit, turn up the action, and really start to get into it with one another. But they also know when to dial it back and to say, hey, you know what? We need to tone it down. We need to make sure that we're able to have these good long green flag runs and try not to have any major implications on everybody's race, because at the end of the day, everyone's here for the same thing. They all want to race, they all want to have fun, they all want to compete with one another, but no one wants to sit around for 2 hours plus under yellow flag just pacing around. That's no fun. No one wants to do that. So everyone's typically on the same page when it comes to things like that.
Oh, absolutely. As you can see, Keithley there at the back, just a little bit wide. It looks like Logan Jones might take advantage in the 8th position, but we also have a battle up here going on. As you can see, everyone really under a blanket. You can see Scott Shire, Lacey, Williams, Hillbrands, and Smith all in a big line right behind Howie Briss, who's also fallen back from Jaden Hopp just a little bit as Hopp builds a 1.2 second gap. So Jaden Hopp really showing that once again he's got the space, and Lacey trying to do something on the inside of Scott Shire. Shire has decided that he wants none of it. Hillbrand's also getting a little bit loose towards the back end there, as Aaron Smith goes a little bit wide to try and take that spot away. Not sure how that's going to work on the high side, but making it work so far. And it looks like that yellow banana might make its way through, but maybe not, as Hillbrands fires back on the inside.
Hillbrand's doing a very good job defending his 6th place spot, trying to stay on the inside as low as he possibly can. But Aaron Smith also responding very well here with some great offense, trying to push Tony as far down as he possibly can, trying to keep himself as low on the track as he possibly can manage without getting into contact with one another. But you can see just how close these two drivers are getting at it with each other, and Tony Hillbrand's doing a phenomenal job keeping that 70 machine right on his side, but also trying to get him loose here, try and get him rattled a little bit. It looks like Aaron Smith out of turn 4. Very good exit here for the number 70 driver as he works his way up into 6th place. Hillbrand's now going to have a little bit more to work up to as Aaron starts to pull away just a little bit. Hillbrand's trying to bring that back in, and Aaron Smith's going to be on the chase here for 5th place driver Sean Williams. So I don't know, Gareth, it might just be that Jaden could potentially see what I was talking about before with the likes of Howie Briss and Aaron Smith being there in his rear view when things are getting towards that checkered flag point.
Yeah, Jaden Hopp has really turned on the jets as he has really made that gap quite large at this point. And you know, we've always seen Jaden Hopp being one of those drivers that can make the long run speed really, really work, and showing another example of that as we've got another fairly decently long green flag run underneath our belts. But you know, I'd also like to say that I think all of these drivers up here in the front pack, they're all pitted on lap 70. And we have our fuel window of 110 to 120 laps. So if we go green the rest of the way, I think it's going to be very interesting because Patrick Colby actually came down in lap 80. So if we go green the rest of the way, you might actually find Colby might have this one in the bag because he came to pit road a full 10 laps behind a lot of these other drivers under one of those cautions. So strategy has definitely not been thrown out the window at this point either.
Definitely something we still have to think about, and you bring up a really good point here as, you know, drivers having that caution come out around, I think it was lap 68, 69, somewhere in that margin. Drivers all coming into lap 71 into pit road to get fuel, get tires, so on and so forth. Like Gareth mentioned, we're still going to expect to see drivers come down into the pits at least one more time. I'm going to have to imagine before the race is over, there's going to be at least 20 laps left to go. I would think maybe some of these drivers are, maybe all of the field is going to say, you know what, screw it, we're just gonna send it all the way to the very end. But I can't imagine that's going to be the case for everyone here. There's got to be a pit stop in these drivers' future, but for Patrick Colby, like you mentioned, as well, we can't also forget to mention Nicholas Corcel, Michael Ashmore, and Matthew Fitz. These drivers as well came in a little bit later than the rest of the field, so you're definitely right, Gareth. I think we could see a shakeup of the front of the field happen a little bit later towards the end of the race, but could have huge implications on how this race finishes here today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. And it appears like we're going to have a long green flag run once again because we already have done for a little bit, and it looks like it's just going to get longer. So that does not play into Tony Hilbrand's wheelhouse very well either, as he already looked like he was a bit struggling with the tail end of that one. But Scott Shire now has worked his way up to Howie Briss. And once again, Scott Shire, one of those drivers that we have seen specifically in this race, but also in races past, that he has great long run longevity. So it'll be interesting to see when and if he makes that move on Howie Briss, or if he decides to just hang back and really have a look at where he might be weakest and try and capitalize on his game. As you can see, Aaron Smith has caught up to the back of Shire now, and Aaron Smith looks like is on a mission at the moment.
Yeah, Aaron Smith definitely trying to work his way up through this field here. And Lisa actually in the chat bringing up a very good point here, saying that if Jaden can pull this off, that will be 3 wins in a row for the number 81 driver. And that also brings up another good point to mention here, is the fact that Jaden Hopp, while it's still very early in this season, Jaden is actually the leader in the points championship at the moment with 696 total points, and Aaron Smith currently in second place with 643 points, and Nicholas Corcel in third place with 627 points. Jaden Hopp currently the most winningest driver with 2 wins, again, both last week and the week before at Atlanta Motor Speedway as well as USA International. So Jaden Hopp is on fire here in the early stages of this season, and I don't think there's any signs of Jaden slowing down here at any point.
No, he's definitely got something figured out on, or maybe something going on in the tech inspection area that we need to have a look at more closely, but definitely seeming like he's got something dialed in on that car, and it's working absolutely beautifully for him. As we're taking a look at Corcel now, and he is right behind Patrick Colby. You know, again, these 2 drivers are ones that came in 10 laps later than the rest of the field. They're currently sitting in 9th and 10th, so they could see themselves in a pretty good position. James Miller's just gone around Nicholas Corcel. Miller is a few laps down at this point, so James Miller not a factor in terms of the fight right there for position. But you know, it is interesting. We've still got 13 cars on the lead lap. A couple of them have gone down a couple of laps, and it looks like Howie D-Train may have pulled into the garage area and has had enough for the night. But we've done 120 laps of 200 so far, and we are getting it done and going green for quite a while, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Don Hilbrand's coming in with another good question here. A couple questions, actually. Having Crown Jewel races again, and yes, we in fact are. There are going to be more Crown Jewel races this season, and believe it or not, next week is going to be the very first Crown Jewel race of the season, and we will be heading to Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we will see 334 laps for the Charlotte 500. Gareth, it's going to be some exciting racing next week. And for as far as the second question of that of your questions there, Don, which ones? Charlotte Motor Speedway going to be the first one. The next one after that won't be for a while, not until the end of May, where we will head to Iowa Speedway for the Heartland 400. The next one after that will be July 3rd for the Brickyard 400, and I think there is two more after that. We have Darlington and Rockingham are the final two Crown Jewel races, and drivers who qualify for those races, I have to remember right, I think it's you have to win a race, and it's the last 5 drivers who won a race who qualify. So in this case, it would be Jaden Hopp, Aaron Smith, Nicholas Corcel, Tony Hilbrands, and I think Ashley Lyle. But I'm not sure if Ashley is a driver in the series anymore. We'll have to keep you guys updated on that, but we will see how that plays out here. But as far as I'm aware, I think that will be the lineup. If it's not Ashley, actually no, that won't be correct here. It's Jaden, Aaron, Nicholas Corcel, and then I gotta take a look here again. James Miller and Aaron Smith. I'm not sure. Tony Hillebrands will be the guy to ask about that, but I'm more than certain that it's going to be an exciting race next week for the Crown Jewel.
It always is. Crown Jewel races are some of the best races, I think, on the iRacing service, to be honest, that these guys put on, and I'm really excited to see the big field coming into Charlotte. It's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be pretty good, and you know, Charlotte Raceway, probably one of my favorite ovals out of all of the ovals on the iRacing service, to be honest with you. I know it's not like probably the most popular, but I don't know, I really enjoy it for some reason. I couldn't tell you why. It's just something about it. I just think it looks pretty.
Yeah, you know, some of the tracks here on the iRacing service, you know, you drive around them enough, you watch enough broadcast of them, and we've even had cases where viewers have come into the broadcast and have said, you know, I thought I was watching a real-life broadcast there for a minute. And it usually takes a little bit to realize, like, oh, wait a second, this isn't actually real life. Granted, iRacing is not anywhere near the top of the line as far as quote-unquote graphics are concerned. There are definitely a lot better looking, close contact here between Aaron Smith and Howie Briss as they fight for second place here. But as I was saying, iRacing definitely looks good, but there are other simulator services that definitely can beat it in that regard.
Oh yeah, but the thing iRacing, you know, iRacing has a small team working on their product, and what they've done is amazing. And you know, the thing that iRacing does better than any other simulator really is the feel of the car, the feedback in the wheels, and how the car responds is really top notch, and that's really what they work on more than anything else. The visuals are definitely second to the feel of the actual driving itself. So yeah, these drivers are going to be very thankful for that indeed, as it looks like Smith and Briss continue to be side by side. But you know, at one point or another, I was going to bring in a joke. I must admit, I was waiting for a caution, but I'm not sure if we're going to get one. So Mason, if you're happy to do so, you want to hear one?
Absolutely, Gareth.
All right, so what did Yoda say when he first saw himself in 4K?
You know, I wish I had an answer for that one, but I don't know. Tell me.
HDMI. Yep.
Oh, boy.
Love it.
That was a good one. That's a good one, Gareth.
Appreciate it.
Oh god. You know, and I should have known. I knew it was going to be something corny, but I didn't expect that. That caught me off guard. That was a good one, Gareth.
Yeah. What's the scariest plant in the world? Bamboo.
Oh my god.
Anyway, we'll go. We'll pay more attention to the racing, I swear.
Done. I'm not impressed either.
Oh man.
See,
I
Gareth,
love these corny jokes. They're great.
This is why we're commentators and we're not stand-up comedians.
I don't know, man. I think I got myself a future. But
You know, you never know. You know, maybe you can write some killer jokes, but right now, I think we should stick with this. Don said it's getting weirder.
I mean, I'm gonna continue making them unless someone really wants me to stop, which is fair enough.
Which is fair enough.
Just gotta add a bit more fun, you know. But we got some cars pretty spread out at the moment, so I thought probably a good time to bring it out. Closest battle on track at the moment, Sean Williams and Nicholas Corsell are going to be running less than half a second away from each other, and they are going to be for the battle for 7th, as they currently run 7th and 8th. You can see a battle side by side further back there. That is Logan Jones and I believe Matthew Fitz, as Fitz has a little bit of a bobble there. Able to keep it underneath him, though. I think he used the outside barrier to his advantage, as Matthew Fitz is actually a lap down, so that is why we are not focused on that one, as Corsell has taken the spot from Sean Williams right there. Jeez, I almost lost the name there for a second.
You know, sometimes that'll happen, Gareth. I've been known to be looking at a driver and I just blank what their name is, but yeah, you know.
Did you see what Dawn just said to me in the chat just then? How mean is that? Don't quit your day job. That's not very nice. That's pretty mean, Dawn.
Well, you know, to be
Aaron Smith coming in pit road. Sorry, Mason. Big news.
Big news.
Coming under green.
Lap 143 here as well. Quite early, I would say, Gareth.
Lisa's saying don't stop. So now we've got a war going on.
We've got conflicting interest here from the fans. But yeah, Aaron Smith making his way in and out here of pit road, but as I was saying, quite earlier than what at least I was expecting from any of these drivers. Now, I'm not sure if Aaron is he's planning ahead right now. I think this is exactly what Aaron is doing. He's planning that undercut. He knows that drivers are going to have to make their way into the field here before too long, and you can already see just how much faster he is on those set of tires right now in the number 70 machine as he makes his way around the number 3 of Logan Jones and now Sean Williams here, and currently a lap down here as well. So he's going to be fighting, well, pretty much, again, just waiting for the rest of the field to make that decision to come down into pit road as both Corsell and Lacey get a little bit loose there out of turn 2, but Aaron Smith calm and steady here in the lean, mean yellow banana. And there he goes across the checkered line here once again. But yeah, Gareth, I think Aaron is setting himself up for the undercut. And for drivers like Patrick Colby and Matthew Fitz, other drivers who we were talking about earlier, who we thought might have had that opportunity, I mean, what do we think they're going to change their strategy here?
Well, first of all, I'll have to apologize for what I said a little while earlier in the broadcast. I did say that I believe you go 2 laps down at this track. Turns out you do not if you pit the way Aaron Smith did, as he only went 1 lap down. So first of all, I got to correct myself on that. Secondly, it's going to be an interesting call as Benjamin Lacey comes down pit road. Gonna have to get it locked up. Remember, these cars I haven't mentioned it yet, but we're going around the oval at around about 130 miles an hour, and we have to lock it down to 35 miles an hour. And the pit entrance is such a small window, so you know it's very tough to get these cars dialed down at the right time. But Lacey's come down, Aaron's come down. These drivers around in the top spots, so it'll be very interesting to see how that one works out, because like you were saying, Jaden Hopp especially had such a huge gap, but if he doesn't come down soon, you'd have to wonder. The undercut is so strong at any track you go to that if he continues to stay out, he will probably, even though he had, you know, many seconds of a gap, may end up having lost the top spot to Aaron Smith by the time the cycle's through, and may not be able to get it back by the time the checkered flag comes out. So it's a big strategy call. I think some of these drivers up front may be waiting and hoping for a caution, and they definitely don't want to be caught out with coming to the pit lane and then the caution coming out and they're already a lap down.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a tough call, I think, for some maybe some drivers here, particularly the drivers that are up in the top 3, the top 5. If you're Tony Hillbrands right now, who, by the way, is currently up into 4th place at the moment, so Hillbrands doing all that he can to put himself back up into the top 3 and beyond. Currently has about a little over 4.5 seconds between himself and Scott Shire, and currently, based on timing and scoring, doesn't quite have the pace to close that down as much as he would like to. But as we're still waiting for this field to make that decision to come down into pit road, are we going to see any of these drivers? Gareth, I mean, this could get real exciting here, as we are just about 40 laps left to go here at North Wilkesboro. And Howie Briss, 2nd place driver, down into the pits here. I think this is going to be the start of our pit cycles for our leaders.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there once again. I believe this is going to be absolutely the start of all of our pit cycles for our leaders. I'm expecting Tony Hillbrands especially to come down pit road pretty soon, as he's been fighting an uphill battle with that looseness of his 92 machine for a little while now. So, and with a short run car though, he may be waiting as long as possible to see if he can get those tires as fresh as he can for that final run. So I could be proven wrong there, as Colby and Jones were as close as you can get to each other without actually banging the doors. So fantastic racing from them, as Colby made a statement really going around the high side, making that pass, as Michael Keithley has also come down pit road. And we're definitely going to see the cycle start coming down, as we've only got about 20 laps left in the fuel run, let alone the actual tire wear that these drivers are having to deal with at the moment.
Yeah, it's starting to come down to the wire here as we enter into 40 laps left to go here at North Wilkesboro. As I switch away from the camera, I meant to keep on there, but Nicholas Corcel, Tony Hillbrand's going to be within about a half a second here of the battle for 3rd place. At the moment, Hillbrand's doing all that he can on these, what will be, let's see here, if I can do my math in my head here, just about 10 more laps until they're 100 laps old. So, I mean, Gareth, I can't imagine they'd want to stay out. Maybe they will. Maybe we will see drivers stay out till lap 170, 175, maybe even a little bit later, or maybe all the way till the end of the race. I'm frankly not 100% certain, because we've seen that happen in the past where drivers just say, you know what, I'm taking the pit strategy and just throwing it out the window, and I'm just going to do my own thing, as Hillbrands makes his way down into pit road here.
Hillbrands got very, very close to that outside, the inside wall.
I'm so glad you caught that too.
Yeah, that was so close. So he's going to be very happy that he didn't actually lift that wall. But yeah, this pit window is definitely cycling through. I'm so surprised that Hop has not come down. Hop must be so happy with the tire, and oh my, once again, just as I'm about to say how happy he is with the tires, he's losing the rear end. So what's that, number 3 or number 4 now for the commentator's curse for me right now? Mason hasn't gotten it yet, so we're gonna have to get Mason calling a bit more action going on in the future to see if he can get something going wrong for him for once. But yeah, so Jaden Hopp still, I mean, he's got a huge 10-second gap, almost 11 seconds really now on Scott Shire. So, but he seems pretty comfortable at the moment, even though he's fighting a little bit of looseness. I mean, we know he's got the long run car. It'll be interesting to see when he comes down. He does have the inside line, so he can get that, he can come down whenever he pleases. And these drivers are certainly going to get out of his way as he is the leader at the moment. And as I say that, Michael Keithley just comes through and absolutely blitzes Jaden Hopp, so you can really see the difference in worn tires versus new right there in the middle and exit of the corner.
You know, and one thing that I want to just point out here as well as we're riding on board with Jaden Hopp is just, for those of you watching at home, it might not seem like it, but Jaden is just, the way he's driving this car is so calm, so collected. I mean, I know you see that steering wheel flying left and right as he's trying to keep this car in a straight line, but he's fighting those worn, very worn tires and just trying to stay fast here. But just how he's executing each lap and each turn is perfect almost every single time, even despite the challenges he's facing behind the wheel, as Logan Jones now makes his way down into pit road. And yeah, Jaden Hopp just absolutely putting on a clinic here for this field and for these drivers here today.
Yeah, so far the only drivers who haven't come down to pit road this time by have been Jaden Hopp, Scott Shire, and Aaron Smith. So all those drivers that it is interesting actually to say, because Jaden Hopp and Scott Shire are certainly no strangers to staying out there for a while and really dialing in those old tires. They're pretty good at it. Aaron Smith is an interesting one, because I feel like Aaron Smith is more of a sort of mid-length sort of a driver. He's pretty good on the strong run, on the long run, pretty good on the short run, but I wouldn't say he's particularly amazing at either. He's just kind of great at both. So it's interesting to see how he's doing, but he's actually tracking down Scott Shire at the moment. Wait, no, Aaron Smith did come down. I've just remembered. Aaron Smith did come down. He was one of the first. He was the first driver, I believe, to come down under this green flag stop. So this is going to work out absolutely beautifully for him, as he's probably going to find himself well in the lead as this one cycles back through, and he makes his way underneath Scott Shire there for the second place spot, and is going to take that with relative ease. The difference in the tires really showing. Even though his tires are about 30 laps old at this point, they are still a lot fresher than Scott Shire's, close to about 100 laps.
Yeah, just
a bit over 100 laps actually at this point.
Oh, trouble here for the number 3 driver, Logan Jones, getting a little bit loose through 1 and 2 there. Scott Shire having to check up on that here as well. That's going to cost him some precious time here. But yeah, Gareth, I think we talked about it when it happened, when Aaron did come down into pit road, and here it is. It's happening right before our eyes. The undercut playing just exactly as I'm more than certain as Aaron planned it to happen here. 26 laps left to go here, and Aaron is going to be looking at nothing but clean air ahead of him. And once Jaden Hopp makes that decision to come down into pit road, there is just under 10 seconds left, or 10 seconds between, or excuse me, 11 seconds, Jesus, numbers. Anyway, there's only about 11 seconds separating these two drivers at the moment, so Jaden is going to have to come down into pits sooner rather than later, unless he really has a trick up his sleeve that is, I mean, Gareth, I can't imagine that there's going to be much that Jaden is going to be able to do here other than, oh man, it's a tough call here.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, I know I've said that so many times at this point, but Jaden Hopp, he's stayed out far too long at this point. I mean, at this point, he's pretty much got to pray for a caution, and if a caution doesn't come, I think he might be in a bit of trouble here, because I do not see how he can make it to the end on fuel. If we had a fuel window of maximum around about 120 laps, we've seen people push it an extra 10 laps in the past, but even then that's going to be cutting it right down to the wire. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it, as Aaron Smith has worked his way and continues to work his way up towards Jaden. But Jaden stays out. It does look like, I believe Scott Shire did come down. Yes, Scott Shire did come down to pit. So Jaden Hopp, the only driver at the moment outside of, well, the only driver who's come down. And Sean Williams, I think, as well, is another one of those drivers. I'm only seeing Sean Williams came down pretty early on, as well as Patrick Colby. I didn't realize that, so they're also haven't come down during this stint, but a little bit further back in the field. I mean, not too far back, 5th and 6th, but Jaden Hopp is definitely what we're more interested in, as he is leading the race. We've got a little bit of a battle here going on. Corsell and Keithley, that is for the 7th place spot just ahead. Matthew Fitz a couple laps down, hopefully not wanting to get involved, but may do on the high side. Keithley had to check up, I believe, a little bit, not to run into the back of Fitz. And Corsell is going to take that spot away. So 7th and 8th are definitely the closest battle at the moment. But Aaron Smith continues to slowly but surely whittle down that gap to Jaden Hopp for the lead.
Yeah, it's closing not as quickly as one might think, but it is definitely dwindling here for Jaden Hopp, and Aaron Smith just chipping away at it like an ice sculptor. Taking his time and just executing each lap to the best of his ability. And from what we can see up here in the booth, it's just absolute perfection here for Aaron Smith and for Jaden Hopp as well. Not to say that the 81 driver hasn't driven well here, because he wouldn't be in the lead if he hadn't driven the way he has here tonight. So great performance overall from Jaden Hopp. We're just waiting to see what the decision is going to be here for Jaden. I mean, we're getting a little bit of insight here from Lisa, from Jaden's mom. Jaden is always calm. Once the race and or interviews are over, that's when he gets animated and excited about the race events, whether it's a win or a wreck. So, you know, while sometimes we don't get a whole lot out of Jaden when we have the interviews here, it's always great to see the 81 driver performing as well as he does and just having the consistency that he does. You know, I wish I had a little bit more information about how old some of these drivers are. Some of these guys might be in their teens. Some of these drivers might be in their late 20s, early 30s, whatever the case might be. It's great to see just the varying skill levels that we see from all over the world, all over the United States, come together in all of these races that we broadcast here on the Team Goon Squad channel, and just frankly all over the internet where we see these virtual races being broadcasted and people coming together and sharing their passion for racing. It's just it makes me happy. It brings me joy to my day to see these kinds of things happen. But enough of the cheesy, corny topics here. Gareth, I mean, 12 laps left to go. It has been an exciting race thus far, and with Jaden still just refusing at this point to come down into pit road. I mean, what do you think here? What coin toss? What do you think is going to happen here for Jaden? Is he going to come down into the pits, or do you think he's just going to take it to the end?
Well, according to the fuel window, once again, you know, the maximum amount of laps he should have been able to do on this fuel run will come down to about now with 10 laps to go. However, I mean, I think we had maybe only one, I believe, one or two, maybe two cautions since he last came down pit road. So it's so close, but if he reckons he can make it, I mean, maybe he can. Maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he's sticking his nose behind traffic every single time he catches up to them, saving some fuel there. I don't know, but it is very, very close indeed. Smith continues to work on it, but I don't think Smith doesn't have enough time to get there. If Jaden somehow can make it to the end, Jaden's got this one. I mean, as long as there is no caution that comes out, and I can't wait till I've done it once again. But at the moment, we're still green, so we'll pretend like it's going to stay green. But yeah, we can see here, just focusing in on Michael Keithley, who is up 3 spots And he's done a very good job this race. And with Patrick Colby not too far behind, you can see there in between them is Matthew Fitz once again, who is a couple laps down, as we've mentioned before. But, you know, interesting, I've just realized Nicholas Corsell is currently in the 3rd position, and he has come down to pit lane 7 different times. Most other drivers have come down 4, maybe even only 2 one time, but Corsell has come down 7 different times. So pretty much every single time we've had a stop or we've had a caution, he has come down pit road. And while a lot of that may be due to having some damage on the car, the fact that he's still up in 5th position is just a testament to really the old moniker of never give up. And, you know, he's right there with him in the top 5. As I said, he's doing a great job as we've got 5 laps to go.
Yeah, you know, and drivers do have 5 sets of tires behind the wall, so I mean it's full in the driver's ability to come down into pits and take a set of tires every time that they want to, up until that they run out of sets. So for Nicholas Corsell, I mean, I think he's just taking advantage of all the tires that he has. While granted it might be a little expensive for the team at the end of the day, it's still going to help drivers who need it. You know, we've talked about long run speeds, we've talked about short run speeds. This is, I think, a perfect example of how a short run speed driver who doesn't really have a great long run speed might try and mitigate that. They'll take full advantage of those cautions. They'll come down into pit road. They'll grab tires. They'll grab fuel, so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that Nicholas Corsell is a bad long run driver, because we've seen him in long run paces before. He knows what he's doing, but there are cases where a track like this might put you in a situation where you're just not comfortable as a driver, and you've got to figure out a solution. You've got to figure out something to make it a little bit better. But as we come out of turn number 4 and across the checkered line, Jaden Hopp taking home the win here for the North Wilkesboro 200. And I am just, Gareth, I'm shocked that Jaden took this one all the way from lap 71 to lap 200, all the way to the checkered flag.
He must be sputtering. There must be like a couple of fuel, like a tiny bit of fuel in the pipes of that machine. I don't know. I don't know if he's got enough fuel to do a burnout, like a full thing, because he's just come to a slide there. I don't. I'm so confused. I don't know how he's managed to save that much fuel. Might have to talk to him about that one in the booth. Oh, he stopped. Can he get it going again?
Oh, I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's able to get it going. He very much might be
It's
out
definitely
of fuel
the engine's out.
Okay, well, that explains that one. I mean, you could not cut it any closer than that. That is amazing. And we have seen a little bit of chaos ensuing here. It did. It looks like Aaron Smith is doing a bit of a drive for Sean Williams. Now, we did see an incident with Sean Williams on that final lap in our timing and scoring, but we were too busy.
Sean actually ran out of fuel too.
Watching Jaden Hopp go around. So Sean came in the same lap as Jaden Hopp. So that is amazing. Look at that. Everyone's pushing him to the end. That is absolutely fantastic to see. We love seeing that. And
this is sportsmanship at its finest.
You know, the thing is, I'm pretty sure last week I mentioned cars. I mean, this is cars again. You know, at the ending scene where they've got the king and he gets wrecked out by Chick Hicks, and then Lightning, you know, grows up and he's out of his, you know, arrogant rookie status, and he goes, I think the king should finish his last race. And I think we've just seen an example of not quite the same thing, because I'm sure we'll see Sean Williams quite a number of times still to come. But yeah, I tell you what, this came down to fuel strategy, and I'm absolutely amazed that these drivers were able to get that close to the end, and in Jaden Hopp's case, actually end.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal end to tonight's race, and as we get ourselves ready for our post-race interviews, Gareth, I mean, coming into tonight, you know, short track racing always kind of has a little bit of a, I guess, a mysterious aura to it, because you just never know what to expect out of it. But these drivers they know how to put on a good show. They know how to race well with one another, and it's great to see the action that these drivers produce on these types of tracks here. But let's go ahead, Gareth, and start up our post-race interviews here, starting off with Howie Briss up here in the booth first, and let's go ahead and drag him in here. Howie, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium here today. A fantastic finish for a considerably difficult race here at North Wilkesboro. A lot of challenges for a lot of drivers here today. Pit strategy being a major one here, and just a few tricky cautions being thrown into the mix of things here during today's race that I think just overall had a few major implications for some drivers, but for yourself and for the rest of the top three, it seemed to be fairly well. Howie, I mean, it's North Wilkesboro, short track racing, flat track racing at that, sort of flat. What was your expectations here tonight? I mean, it was going to be chaos, but it seemed to work itself out towards the end. Is that sort of what you expected here?
I was expecting a demolition derby, but I'm surprised that we kind of went that long green flag around the end. And oh my gosh, I am so tired right now. Yeah, the car was a handful because off of turn 4, you're kind of going downhill, so the car wants to ride up because you're going uphill a little bit, and then when you're going downhill in the turn 2, well, actually turn 1, the car wants to go straight, and then once you come off of 2, it like the rear tires, so it's like a dirt car where it's leaning on the right rear and it just wants to spin around on you, wants to grab, while the other tire doesn't want to. So it was difficult, I will say that.
You know, and me and Gareth were talking a little bit about it up here in the booth, kind of towards the beginning of the race, where we saw quite a few drivers getting a little bit loose, particularly out of turn 2 and out of turn 4, which you just described have some unique features to them. Do you think that the car setup for today had any contributions to that, or even just the fact that this is the Gen 4 car, a little bit more horsepower underneath the right foot? So I mean, was there any sort of those factors coming into today's race here that sort of affected anyone or yourself here tonight?
I feel like it's the horsepower that makes the difference, because you got a lot more power, and of course, if you get a little bit throttle happy, that thing's going to come around on you. So you got to be a little bit gentle on the throttle. You got to make sure it's like planting an egg underneath your gas pedal. You just got to nurse it. You don't want to flat foot it right off the straightaway because you'll crack that egg and demolish it. You want to nurse it. You just want to feather it. Just kind of pedal it off the corners and just be able to get a good run down the straightaway.
Well, that was racing lessons here with Howie Briss, the number 97 driver, and also our 2022 VRL champion up here in the booth. Howie, I want to thank you for joining us up here and congratulate you once again on your podium finish here tonight. But before I let you go, before you go crack one open and celebrate and go pour champagne all over Jaden Hopp, is there anyone you want to shout out and thank before you go here tonight? Anyone watching the broadcast, the pit crew? The floor is yours.
Oh, gosh. All right. Let's see if my brain's still working right now, because I am dead tired. So I got Granddad upstairs. He's watching. Aunt Stephanie on the West Coast. RTR Racing. I know they're going to be watching this as we make our road trip down to Humboldt, Kansas later this week. So, and you guys for putting out the broadcast, and Tony for putting on the league and everything. So, yeah. I ain't going to go take a nap because I am tired and I need to go pack for this weekend.
Well, absolutely. I won't take up any more of your time, Howie. Congratulations once again, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Charlotte.
Yeah, hopefully that race is a little bit better. I mean, it's a longer race, but it's going to be an enduro.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully we get to talk to you again there.
Yeah, I hope so too. You take care.
Absolutely. You as well, Howie. Alrighty, folks, that was Howie Briss coming out of the booth here, taking home third place here tonight and handing it off over to my colleague, Gareth McAllister, and bringing in Aaron Smith up into the booth here for second place, Gareth.
First of all, Aaron, g'day. And how was that race from your perspective? Because you were really trying to hunt down Jaden Hop at the end there. Did you realize that he was going to have enough fuel to make it to the end?
No, it was showing about 6 laps short for me when I was around Howie and Scott there in that long green flag run. So I figured I'd go down as soon as possible, take the tires, and get my lap back as soon as I could, just in case we had a late race caution. But that caution never came, and I was just one step too late there again on Jaden. But it was a fun race all around. Had to fight for that second place this week, so I'll certainly take it.
Yeah, now we saw a lot of drivers being very loose, but you seemed steady as a rock for the majority of the race here tonight. Was a lot of that just down to, like, we were talking to Howie Briss just before, and he was saying how you really had to be very gentle on throttle inputs. Were you finding that as well? Because was it trying to sort of whip around on you if you put the power down too far too quickly?
Yeah, it had a couple spots during the race where it tried to do that on me. A couple times when I was trying to pass people on the inside on the exit of turn 2, it was kicking around pretty hard. But once I got by myself, just running my own line, it didn't really pose that much of an issue. I was running the right front off more than anything. But I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, to be honest with you. I was pushing it as hard as I could there in that last run. It was about 65 laps, and felt pretty good there at the end.
All right, well, the final thing I was going to ask you was a little bit to do with, oh man, I can't believe I'm forgetting this during the interview. That's a horrible mistake. But yeah, I was gonna ask you something to do with, well, here you go, I'll change it up and I'll ask you, how did you feel on the high side? Because I think we saw you do a couple of passes, or attempt a couple of passes on the high side line, but it just didn't seem to, I mean, it seemed to work for you and a couple other drivers, but for a lot of the drivers on the field, it seemed like the low side was the way to go.
Yeah, it only made enough of a difference to get around them. At the beginning of the run, when everyone was all stacked up together on the bottom, everyone would kind of check up, and you'd be able to get the run out on the high side. But it was the slower line the whole race. I would once the field got more strung out, I'd go up there and try to cross people over. But once the right side tires started to wear out, that wasn't a really viable option. I had to start waiting for the cars ahead of me to make mistakes, and I think that cost me quite a bit of time there trying to get up to Jaden. But that's all right.
All right, well, I guess lastly, but definitely not least, as we will see you again. There's no doubt about that, seeing you up here in the booth every few weeks. But who would you like to give a shout out to for the second place finish, and a very close one at that?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the folks at the Velocity Racing League for putting the show on, and all the folks in the field for putting on a solid race. It's not very often you get to see a green flag pit stop at these short tracks. I'm surprised we had such a long run down the race, but yeah, I'd like to thank y'all for broadcasting and all the folks for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it at Charlotte.
All right, sounds good, Aaron. Thanks for joining us up here in the booth, and have a good night. We heard from Howie that everyone is very, very tired after this race, so you might need put that blanket on you and fall asleep here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, folks. So Aaron Smith out of the booth here, taking home second place here on the podium. And
why was that so funny? Why was that so funny for you?
I don't know.
I mean, I messed it up a little bit, but I was,
just the way you said it just sounded funny.
Okay, fair enough.
Jaden Hop, though, taking home the win here, bringing him down into the booth here. Jaden, welcome to the booth, and congratulations on your win here tonight. An absolutely phenomenal way to round off 3 back-to-back wins here in the opening start of the Velocity Racing League 2023 Cup Series season. Jaden, you are on a roll here, and it does not seem like anyone has had any sort of response here for your success. And I mean, Jaden, tell me a little bit about it. What's the secret? What's the secret sauce that you've been slipping inside that 81 machine to have your success here in the past 3 races?
Oh, I've just been practicing more. That's really about it, honestly.
Well, that practice has been showing, and you have been doing absolutely incredible. Looking forward next week at Charlotte. Do you hope to accomplish another win here, or what's kind of your expectations given The length of Charlotte next week is, I believe, 334 laps. So what do you expect to see next week at Charlotte?
I'm just hoping to keep the momentum going. Like, keep getting top fives, just keep getting good points results, really.
Absolutely. Well, currently being the points leader at the moment, you've definitely got that target on your back for other drivers looking to do well this season in the points. And Dawn Hillbrand's also asking what the point standings are. We'll touch on that here in just a moment. But Jaden, before I let you go here, before you do your celebrating with your fellow teammates, fellow drivers, is there anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Just, as always, you for putting on a great broadcast, and Tony for putting on a good week. And I'd like to shout out my family again.
Absolutely. Well, Jaden, thank you for joining us up here in the booth. Congratulations for a third time in a row on your win here at North Wilkesboro. And I look forward to seeing you next week at Charlotte, and hopefully I get to talk to you again in a similar circumstance.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. Jaden Hopp working his way out of the booth here, coming home with yet another win here for the VRL Cup Series. Jaden Hopp absolutely on fire here in the number 81 machine. Gareth, what an absolutely phenomenal night that we've had here. And while I've still got it in my brain, let's actually take a moment to take a look at our point standings after tonight. So, Jaden Hopp and Aaron Smith both retain their first and second place spots, with Jaden Hopp with 888 points, Aaron Smith with 818 points, Howie Briss in third place now with 790 points, Nicholas Corsell in fourth place with 782 points, and Michael Keithley in fifth place with 700 points. So, right now, Jaden Hopp is currently dominating the series with 70 points of a gap between himself and Aaron Smith. So if Jaden Hopp keeps things up here, Gareth, I mean, it is going to look like a phenomenal season here for the 81 driver.
Yeah, I don't know what Jaden Hopp's got under the hood of that car, but the last three races have been absolutely incredible for him. And as he said, just a little bit more practice, and he was already fast last season. He was already finishing top 5, so the fact that he's getting even faster really makes me worry for all the other drivers in the future for races to come. If he continues at this current pace, we may see him in the pro circuit anytime soon, which will be absolutely phenomenal, and we can be like, hey, I remember that guy. And yeah, so that'll be great for him. But other than just talking about Jaden, this whole league is great. I really enjoy calling the action with you as well, Mason. It's always great fun seeing everyone talk to us in the chat as well on YouTube, and everyone tuning in. I can't thank you enough. Again, we couldn't do these shows without everyone showing up, so we very much thankful about that. And whether you're cheering on your favorite driver, just here for some laughs, or cheering on the broadcasters of myself or Mason, it's been a great race, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the Crown Jewel race event at Charlotte. That should be quite the event indeed, Mason.
Absolutely. And on that note, folks, I think Gareth did a fantastic job of wrapping this one up for us. So, with that being said, we will see you all next week, same time, same place as always, for the race at Charlotte for the very first Crown Jewel race of the season, the Charlotte 500. Get subscribed, hit the like button if you haven't already, because it is going to be a phenomenal show next week. See you all next week, and have a fantastic night.